because we use the word historic for almost everything, but it is a first. And look, the last time Putin has met with a North Korean leader before, you have to go back to Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, back in 2002. And you also had a meeting between Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's father, and the then Russian President Dmitry Medvedev in 2011. So you have to 2012. You have to go back quite a way to get back to the last meeting between a Russian and a North Korean leader. Why is it a big deal? Well, look, like you said, no earth-shattering breakthrough is expected, but it's all the context here, right? Context is everything. 2 months after that summit between Kim and Trump in Hanoi, Vietnam, ended in an abrupt halt, both sides, their limos driving off in opposite directions, both men leaving empty-handed. Each of these men are coming, you could say, obviously they have their different national interests at heart, but they have sort of interesting convergence of agendas here in the sense that, let's first take a look at what Kim wants. What does Kim want out of this? I made a quick list of bullet points. They might correspond to what I'm saying or not. Basically, Kim wants to show he has some friends, and not just any friends, but some powerful friends out there, even though he's essentially a little bit to Donald Trump. Don't think that just because our talks failed, North Korea and the U.S., that I'm just sitting home alone, empty-handed here. I still have my friend, Vladimir Putin, North Korea and Russia. Their friendship goes back really to the Soviet Union. Those ties then went on hard times after Soviet collapse, but Putin's been trying to sort of patch it back together. And he's looking for sort of Putin's help because Donald Trump was an all-or-nothing guy. He said to Kim, essentially, you get rid of every single nuke that you have in your arsenal or we're not doing anything with sanctions. And Putin has favored a more gradual approach, as has China, actually. A step-by-step de-escalation. They think it's more realistic. They think it's more likely to get things done. And one of the things they perhaps have spoken about, we don't have details of it, is this idea of getting six-party talks. These were the big thing worldwide. Back in 2003, Donald Trump trashed the idea of six-party talks, both Korea's, Russia, China, U.S., and Japan, getting everyone around the table again, multilateral talks. The Russians think it's the only effective international mechanism. They're not trying to underline what Kim and Trump are doing, but they are at least saying, let's give this a chance. And I'll just briefly say, Putin wants a similar thing, right? I have a Putin chart also. What Putin wants is he wants to be a player on the North Korean peninsula and that whole Northeast Asian peninsula. He's done this before. Russia's saying, we matter. We have a global role to play. Do not count us out. And he's been big on restoring Russia's glory, reasserting Russian influence and power on the world stage. This is part of that broader strategy. North Korea economically is small fry for Russia. I think they have $34 million of bilateral trade. But there are North Korean workers in Russia who sends a lot of money home to North Korea. Putin would one day, once those sanctions are lifted, perhaps try to get some mining concessions in North Korea and also get a pipeline to carry natural gas from Russia, from its great oil reserves, all the way down through to South Korea.
Doug, are we safe to assume that Donald Trump has been very closely watching this meeting between the two leaders, given the ill-fated meeting in Hanoi that you spoke about earlier?
Look, I don't know how closely Donald Trump himself is watching this. Maybe he's too busy tweeting
the U.S.
this
administration.
Morning. But the U.S. administration, look, they are interested. They are following these talks. They sent the U.S. envoy from North Korea actually went to Moscow a week ago in the run-up to these talks to try to perhaps take the pulse of what's going to happen. Look, I told you where Trump stood with this. He is, an absolutist, all or nothing, get those nuclear weapons gone or nothing's going to happen. Is he scared by the fact that Putin and Kim are meeting? I don't really think so. I think Trump, tends to think that he's the only game in town. He's the center of attention. He probably thinks at the end of the day, Kim's going to have to deal with him. But I'll tell you one thing, Putin will definitely come away from these talks, having met with Kim, with more leverage with Washington. And whether Trump thinks he has to or not, at some level, they will have to take that into account.